Welcome back, everyone, to the alignment. Today, I'm joined with my lovely wife, Joywyn, and Joywyn is going to be introducing our topic of discussion today, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Just take the mic from me. Okay, fair enough.
So today I want to talk about the importance of humor and play in a relationship and how that can completely transform your life and your relationship. I think most of us lose that childlike wonder as we grow up and have these adult relationships. And I want to talk more about.
Traffic.
Yeah, I want to talk more about how you can keep the essence of youth by laughter and curiosity and play and fun.
Yeah, that's very true. I think,
We're sharing a mic today.
yeah, because my other mic is out of charge currently. So, as an act of union, we are unifying with one mic. But yeah, this sort of play and humor and comedy. Um,
I
you know, it
enjoy
goes.
comedy quite a bit.
What's that, sorry?
I said I do enjoy comedy quite a bit.
That's great, honey. Um, yeah, I think there is an epidemic of seriousness in this world today, um, where a lot of people are allergic to jokes. They are allergic to taking things lightheartedly. They think that part of growing up is that everything becomes,
Let's
yeah, suits and ties and briefcases and, you know, they forget that, adults are just children pretending to be adults, I think.
that's very
Um,
true.
and, it's just this element of play is so important. And it's almost like it's a conspiracy to sort of remove that aspect of play. You look at people in jobs and workplaces, there's kind of just a very lukewarm atmosphere with regards to jokes and lightheartedness. And, well, obviously it depends on what sort of job you're doing. But, yeah, but, of course, this conversation is about relationships, not jobs. But it's part of a sort of a wider societal question of like, humor. Yeah, what do you feel about humor in relationships? How has your perspective on this sort of matter evolved over time?
I feel like that's evolved quite a bit because I was very much a very serious person. But ever since I got married, I really started understanding what humor is. I don't know if this has something to do with my marriage, but yeah, it's definitely, I think a lot of people struggle to laugh because they're in a survival mode, you know? And I feel safety with a person can result in humor and opening up various aspects of yourself that you feel safe enough to explore and take pleasure in and laugh. But definitely with my husband, that's been very prominent. My relationship to laughter and goofiness has extremely transformed. Not that, I never had that, but I was just really not in that space to do that very often, I guess.
Like the formal
Yeah.
terminology is that you had a stick up your ass. You s-
um,
didn't you? What's it used to say? Whenever I make a joke, you would call it monkey business.
yes, because
There's
it
no
is
time.
monkey
The
business.
monkey business. Yeah, and then the humor.
I guess I fell in love with the monkey, so that makes me a partner in your monkey
Yeah,
business.
good part
But
for love.
yes, I understand that. That's what a marriage is, honey pie.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be a lot more monkey business to come on.
You're threatening me with monkey
No,
business.
I'm just confronting you with the reality that you chose and manifested.
Yes, I have consciously, with no pressure, chosen this. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. But humor is the most enlivening thing that I have ever experienced in my human lifetime. But yeah.
fair enough.
But yeah, giggles and fun and play. I think that's what makes us best friends as well, because, it's not just about a romantic partner. Yes, the love's always there, the romantic moments are always there. But I think the secret key to a very, very, very long marriage or a relationship would be having a best friend, or feeling like the person you're with makes you laugh and it's like it's your best friend as well. And that's more than romance. I think that layer of friendship is so necessary, especially before you commit to someone. I mean, if you can't laugh with them or play with them, life's gonna feel very long and draining. But yeah, I really value the layer of friendship that we have as well, because we're always like teasing each other or playing around or wrestling or something or the other. But it makes life very entertaining and pleasurable. And I think most of us in relationships lack that because we're so serious. We always put up this performance of, just being a certain type of way and never let loose. But yeah, I think that is very important.
Yeah, and I sort of feel like seriousness is, apologies for the interruption. Seriousness is a sort of an emotional extension of fear. We become serious because we fear being our playful selves. Um, I think sort of being playful, being naturally playful, there's a lightness to that. There's a kind of a sort of stepping back from the sort of conventional cultural expectations of being a grown up, and this is what grown ups talk about and speak about. And if you just sort of throw all that sort of in the air and just say what you want to say from the gut, without censoring yourself. Like, yes, you may occasionally say some stupid stuff, but that stupid stuff is funny stuff. But the funny stuff comes from that same intuitive sort of space. But because, you know, when we become excessively serious, we're living in a way that cuts ourselves off from our intuition. Jokes and comedy are a very intuitive and instinctive thing. And that's why children love it, because children are very much in that playful mode of being when they're tapped into the spontaneity of things, to their intuitions. And children, and they're naturally playful, they're naturally funny, they naturally find everything wonderful. And unfortunately, adults are often conditioned out that when they're conditioned into having this sort of weighing down of concepts and expectations and social norms, which can very much inhibit someone from just expressing their authenticity. I think there's a apologies, people that just love to drive up and down this fucking road. Um, oh, again, another one. Yeah, it's bloody annoying. Anyways, a sip of tea to compose myself. So yeah, humor and seriousness. I think people find that another motorbike, third one in like 20 seconds. I think people find that to make jokes and to be light-hearted is it requires taking a certain risk, maybe a risk in social situations, I suppose. Um, but I sort of feel like part of my awakening with jokes and humor and stuff like that, it's like when I sort of relaxed the expectation of or that fear of being embarrassed, and when I stopped caring about what the other person necessarily perceives me as, not just in relationships, but in life situations, then I would just say what I want to say. Some people require alcohol and, certain substances in order to get into that disinhibited state. If other ways, just being able to cultivate it naturally so that you you have that intuitive, instinctive thing that just sort of crops up, at a funny little thought, and rather than silencing it because you feel like, oh, you shouldn't say this sort of thing, sometimes you just say it, and then yes, you may catch people off guard, but wouldn't life just be really boring if we never took any risks, if we never just said that weird thought that sort of occurs to us? I find, this is, there's a beautiful creativity with just saying random shit that comes in your head. To get philosophical about it, but yeah, that's been my sort of awakening with humor and stuff. And I think, like, to round off my little TED talk, um, to be humorful with another person it's it's an expression of that comfort and safety that you feel with that person. People are very stiff. You feel that with their energy. You can tell that they're unfunny. You can tell that they're very repressed, and you can't really joke around these sorts of people. But someone who's a very free spirited person, who's very open and light-hearted and doesn't take things so seriously, there's a joy, there's a natural joy that comes when you're in their presence. And you know that you can just say whatever comes and there won't be that sort of vicious judgment, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree to a lot of people feeling unsafe to begin with. And sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes you are in a situation or you're ended up with a person that is maybe more serious than you are or less playful. And I feel like it's definitely time to reconsider what relationships you're entertaining in your lives. Because by no means are you required to stay in a relationship that doesn't make you feel like it's fun or playful or alive. Play is a metaphor for being alive. That's what play really is. It has very little to do with children and other stuff, but to me, play is a big indicator of how lively you are, how much your spirit is alive, whether you're a child or an 80-year-old person, it doesn't matter because we all have a spirit of life, but sometimes that spirit gets broken due to various tragical incidents that we're all aware of and trauma and whatnot, but it's never lost. You can always bring that back. And as we all know, it's also called the inner child healing. But my inner child definitely healed a lot with my husband. Um, because the more I understood what safety really feels like in a relationship, what comfort feels like in a relationship, that joy just came, that play, it just came out. Like it was like it was almost like it had never left. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like for you to step outside your cage, I suppose? Um,
Yes.
what was that like?
Um
Go that.
I feel like, well, mine was more situational and previous relationships and things like that, like we all do. We all have a past. There is a very big lizard over there.
Where?
There.
I don't see it.
There. It's camouflaged under the grass. There. It's moving about.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I know. It's eating the bird.
Oh.
Anyway, have a bit of a reptile situation happening. But yeah.
What? No, I'm looking at the lizard. Are you gonna?
Yeah. So I was saying, yes, leaving the cage behind was difficult at first, but then once I noticed that the cage was pointless because there is nothing that is harming me or, nothing that I need protection from, now I have time for, yeah, other than that lizard. Other than that, like, I can just let loose and be free. And I found deeper aspects of what I really like and the space and the comfort to do that. So that's been pretty amazing. But yeah, we should all drop our cages and not just wait for the right person to come along and make you feel comfortable. I am fortunately in a situation where I have found everything that I'm looking for, and then I could do that. But if you're by yourself and you're not seeing anyone currently, this is not just a relationship thing. It's comfort and safety can be cultivated within yourself first. I also did that before I found him. I wasn't just sitting there waiting for another person to make me feel this type of way. I took full responsibility, like full sovereign authority over my life. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do things that make me feel safe within myself. And he turned out to be a reflection of that work that I did within myself. Like everything always is. We say that in every video because that is the highest truth. We're all just reflections. But yeah.
Yeah, very true. I think that's a future-based sort of sign-off today, sort of conversation. Um, that's that basic conclusion of we don't have to wait for a partner to enter our lives before we can feel safe. That safety, a sense of freedom to just be who you are is, you have to understand that it's already there within you. You don't, yes, a partner can help to activate that part of you,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's you yourself who has to, take that leap of faith and, take that authentic step towards speaking your truth. No matter, you know, what sort of fear or judgment that you may have. Um, our seriousness stems from that fear of judgment, I feel. That stiffness that we feel in the presence of other people, perhaps because of social anxiety and stuff, it stems from a fear of judgment. And so we perform these masks, these personas and stuff like that. But there's no freedom there. There's no joy there. There's a facade of joy. There's a facade of freedom. And the world would be a much easier place if people stopped taking it all so seriously. They stopped taking themselves so seriously. Um, people struggle sometimes to make fun of themselves, to make light-hearted jokes about themselves because their egos are so large and insurmountable. And, there's nothing more ego dissolving than a good joke, I find. So, yeah,
It's true.
yeah. Anyways, we'll leave that at that. Hope you guys have found that insightful, and we'll see you next time. Adios.